Hola, this is Tico Tren. This is Tico Tren SYSBM, and I'm going to talk about relationship dynamics. This will be more so my views on women when it comes to women for the most part, and the dynamic of relationships, and the women and men dynamic of relationships for the most part. Um, so this is going to be my views of women and men, and basically my views on them. Um, I'm gonna start. Men and women are different. Yes, they are. It's just fact. It sucks, but it's true. Men and women are different but equal. And what I mean by that is a man has the physicality and a woman has mental, social, and emotional strengths, whereas men have the physicality when it comes to strength. And what I mean by that is that is women bring to the table to equal men for the most part, is what I mean by that. Yo, Jay McCall, what's up? And what I mean by that is men bring the physicality and the strength to the table. Women are supposed to bring the social, mental, and emotional to the table. That's how it's supposed to be. That's the dynamic for the most part. How how much she can lift, the average male can probably, and 9 times out of 10, can lift way more than she can without even trying or breaking a sweat. It's just facts. Men bring the physicality and the strength. It's kind of why how you'll see couples in a relationship or the husband will say, "She's my rock." He means emotionally. She means emotionally, mentally, and socially. She's his rock. And you'll hear women say that their husband or their boyfriend is their rock or their steadfast rock. He brings his stoicism and his strength in a relationship. That's typically how that works for the most part. In in this day and age, what a lot of people don't understand, or what a lot of people fail to understand, is at the end of the day, we are different but equal. We bring different strengths to the table. How it's supposed to work is we bring different strengths to the table to make us whole for the most part, a whole human being. And when you come together, you basically become one. It'd be no different than merging two companies together and making it work for the most part under one umbrella for the most part. Is the best way I could put it to you. Um, that's typically how that's supposed to work. Unfortunately, that's in the sauce. So now people are lost on what they're supposed to do, how they're supposed to do it, and why they can't do it for the most part. That's typically the nature of the beast. And this is where a lot of people fall short or don't realize their jobs and what their qualities and jobs are, and when they bring it to the table. This is why a lot of the relationships in this day and age always fail, because everybody done mixed up and lost with their job, forgot what they're supposed to be doing, which is kind of sad once you think about it. And the sad part about that is nobody should be forgetting or not knowing what they're doing for the most part in their relationship. That's something that you're supposed to be innate, or you're supposed to know biologically, but everybody's been pushing their biology down to the depths, or hiding it, or trying to cover it or bury their biology with a bunch of bullcrap for the most part. It is what it is. That's typically why and how everything's been jacked up the way it is, and everything's been backwards or messed up for the most part, is the best way to put it. And the irony to it is both in this society, what makes it so messed up is that everybody's gotten their goals and who they are supposed to be all jacked up. However, I can say this with the whole entire rise of feminism and the single mother household, that plays a large chunk in part in why everybody's roles are all fucked up for the most part, and why everybody's biology is torn up and thrown out the window for the most part, or turned topsy turvy or on its head. Is if you take a, I'm gonna preface this first. The irony to relationships is what a lot of people don't realize is at the end of the day, a relationship's a relationship for a reason. And how you actually cultivate that relationship is how is based on, I mean, how successful that relationship is based on how you cultivate that relationship. If you don't put any care in it, don't expect to get anything out of it. Or if you don't put anything in it, you can't expect it to grow. Or if one person's only inputting and there's very much growth there. It is what it is. At the end of the day, you have to work as a team. It's no this like I said, relationships are no different than a fucking business. Sadly. But a lot of people miss this. A lot of people skip it under the rug. A lot of people destroy this, especially with feminism and a single mother household. Men have forgotten their roles in the same token and women forgotten their roles in the same token. And the sad part about that is we have roles. We all have biological roles. And a lot of people ignore that or don't pay attention to the biological imperative for the most part. A lot of men are growing up in single mother households and they don't have that drive or that passion or that zeal as the men of yesteryears. And you got these women growing up in a society that, they're getting handouts from the government and like raising single children and, I'm independent, I'm this, that, and the other, I'm this, that, and the other. And what they fail to realize is they lost their edge. They really did lose their edge on what they're supposed to perceive for the most part. And the sad part about that is here's how you know women are losing their themselves in this whole entire thing. Because at the end of the day, a lot of women nowadays in this day and age are depressed. And because they get sold this belief that, you can have it all. And then when they hit 30, 40, 50, they realize I can't have it all. I'm at home. I have no husband. I have no children. I have no prospects. Wait and have it all. The fact of the matter is, they waited too long, and the sad part is they can't have it all. Or they waited so long, what options they thought they had and thought would always be there dwindled, and no longer they have it all. They basically used up all their time. And some get lucky and they'll get buzzer beaters. Every now and again, you'll get a buzzer beater. But the chances of that happening are very slim to none in this day and age because they use all of their options and chances by just doing nothing or overdoing it or buying into a narrative for the most part, which is sad. And what a lot of people don't understand or realize is that at the end of the day, what a lot of women don't realize at the end of the day, you both need each other as much as more than you actually could do it on your own. Because at the end of the day, socially, so psychologically, and emotionally, be alone. They need to feel connections. They need to feel like they're a part of a group, or they need to feel like they're a part of something for the most part, or they need to feel needed. Is typically how that works. The sad part about that is on the flip side, this is this is why men can always go out and hunting parties. And that part about that is men can be on their own, but men can do groups. But only time men do groups is when they need help or they need to conquer a bigger goal for the most part is the only time men actually travel in groups or packs for the most part. When they don't need anything, they tend to roll solo all by them, all on their lonesome. And that's the fundamental difference between men and women. Men can do stuff by themselves or be by themselves and be happy and content with themselves. Unfortunately, women can't really do that same thing because they tend to run into a lot of the same problems as a divorced man does. After he's been divorced, women tend to suffer from that same line of suffering that men do when they go through a divorce, but only women don't have to be divorced. It's just the fact that women feel lonely and they go through the same damn things mentally that men do when they get a divorce. So when a woman hasn't really, accomplished anything in her life and she hasn't really met her goals like she was promised, the same mentality that a man has after being divorce raped is the same mentality that a woman has when she can't find that actual partner. This is why you hear all the op-eds about where are all economically attractive men? Where are all the eligible men at? Where are is a man desert? Shit like that for the most part. This is why you hear that type of shit because the one to one, a woman's not going to say that shit. But women will write op-eds and stories and shit like that to basically paint it that it's the man's fault that they're going through this shit. When in fact, it's their fault they're going through this shit. Because at the end of the day, women need to socialize. Women need to be a part of something. Women need to feel like they're a part of a group or feel protected or feel loved or feel socially accepted for the most part. And this is where a lot of people miss, and this is where a lot of things get mixed up, and people fail to realize why things the way they are for the most part, and why women why and how they get into the emotional, mental, and physical things that they get into. The sad part about that is what a lot of people don't realize at the end of the day, everything a woman does is to basically make herself appealing and attractive to the man or to catch a man or be get a man. Unfortunately, in this day and age, women have went a step too far or a tad too far on how to make themselves attractive to men or how to make themselves appealing to men because we everything in a society. So of course now you got women dressing like we're in porn shoots or softcore shoots now, or looking like they just stepped off of an exotic dancing pole or a strip club for the most part, while they're out and about in public. And that's sexy to a certain subsection of men, but the men that you actually want, that's not sexy to them, unfortunately. Only a large chunk of men who actually find that sexy are the men that you don't want. The other, well, not the small, large chunk, but like the other section of men, they basically like, yeah, no, like Mark Cuban, I'm out for the most part. And I'm not talking about the MGTOW thing. I'm not talking about red pill stuff. I'm basically talking about a lot of the men who prefer to wonder what's going on under your clothes versus actually seeing what's on under your clothes. Because the sad part about that, at the end of the day, if he knows what's under there, then everybody else knows what's under there. Then you're not a prize anymore. And this is how this typically works. And a lot of women mess this up or misunderstand this whole entire thing. If he knows what's going on under your clothes, that means everybody else around him knows what's going on under your clothes. A man doesn't want somebody who everybody's pretty much seen naked for the most part or half naked. It's just facts. It sucks, but it is what it is. But in this day and age, everybody shows a little more skin and a little more, and then they Mr. Right or they can't find the guy or the one And the sad part about that is, at the end of the day, psychologically, you look nice, but you're not wifey nice for the most part, or you're not long term relationship nice. Because at the end of the day, no matter how much you how much you try to dress it up or paint it, it kind of reminded me of that was it Rick James or was it who's the person that sang that song? Super freak the cat for the most part. In other words, what I mean by that is men want a freak in the sheets, but a lady in the street. It's just facts. They don't want everybody else knowing what they have. They're proud of what they have and they know what they have. At the end of the day, a man's happy with what he has. The sad part about that is women aren't happy that their man is happy with what they have. They look for more, or they look for get more attraction or more attention for the most part. And this is where a lot of women fail in relationships. Because at the end of the day, what a lot of people fail to realize, he married you. He didn't marry your social media page. He married you. He didn't marry your Instagram. He's dating you. He's not dating your friends. He's dating you. He's not dating your parents. It's just facts. And this is where a lot of women mess up. And this is where a lot of, when her friends start, like basically you literally have to tell her, look, I'm not dating them. I'm dating you. Last I checked, when I wake up next to you, not them. And quite frankly, if they're not paying any bills, then I'm gonna lead them to mind their damn business for the most part. And that's typically how that should work. But unfortunately, we're are surrounded by a group of men that were raised by single mothers in this society, and they don't have any backbone or any balls to ultimately say that or do that for the most part. And they tend to always get into shit that they necessarily don't really need to be in. And that's sad. That's very sad. At the end of the day, what I'm basically trying to say is men are nothing more. Women are the social, emotional, and mental creatures for the most part. That's their strength. Socially, socially, social, uh, their social surroundings. They excel in social surroundings. They excel in mental surroundings, and they excel in things. There's emotional, their emotional setting. So they excel emotionally, mentally, and socially. Those are their strengths. A man's strengths are his raw physicality and his stoicism for the most part. Those are his strengths. Like the fact that if a man can be stoic, he can be pretty strong if he's stoic, basically. It may not bother him on the outside, but it may bother him on the inside. But at the end of the day, you still have to show that the stoicism and the stoic face to pretty much go with it. And this is where a lot of men mess up and a lot of men forget where they stand and what they're supposed to be doing. Men still have most men still have the physicality, but they don't have the stoicism anymore in this day and age, which really sucks. Then on top of that, some of their physicalities aren't really up to par like the men of yesteryear, which really sucks. And the sad part about that is we talk toxic masculinity, but like the sad part about it is all these people that talk bad want, need, and crave toxic masculinity. All these people that put down misogyny and crave, want, and are in love with misogyny. It is what it is. At the end of the day, for the most part, a lot of these feminists who talk about like hate misogyny and hating the patriarchy and hating all this shit and hating toxic masculinity and really want toxic masculinity. It's the nature of the beast. And this is what a lot of people don't understand or get. It is what it is. But at the end of the day, vacate yourselves biologically and it not shine through. Yeah, basically vacate yourselves biologically, both men and women. Like I said, women need to feel wanted and needed socially for the most part. This is why they have their girlfriends. This is why they have their, you know, their social circles. This is why, you know, this is why when if you both if both your parents were to come and visit and you only have one spare room, her parents get the spare room, not your parents. You see what I'm saying? Or this is why if, you know, something like that happens, 9 times out of 10, if your parents or one of her friends are coming, this is why her friend gets a spare room and your parents got to stay at the hotel if you're a man. This is typically how that works for the most part. It's sad, but it's true. Because her social circle will always trump your family because she needs it. Because at the end of the day, what you fail to realize is the reason why your family gets to stay at the house in a spare room is your family is realistic about who she actually is. And they're not going to bite their tongue on what they believe about her as a man. Your family is more honest about who she actually is, and they're not willing to, stroke her ego or kick her ass for the most part. Whereas her friends are there to basically stroke her ego, kiss her ass, and be her yes man, yes woman, yes man, whatever you want to call it. At the end of the day, nature of the beast on how that works. Because at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, the best way I could preference it is how some people talk about how women love horses and stuff like that for the most part. The reason why they love horses, they spoke of in a video, is because they're big, powerful creatures that can kill somebody, roll somebody, throw somebody off of it, trample someone, just cause total devastation. And the fact that they can actually take control of this beast gives them the gives them the gives them the ability to do so. And it's not like they physically take control of the beast; they emotionally, mentally, and socially take control of the beast. Now, replace that horse with a man in this human hierarchy or um, human wise. I mean, in this, we'll say mammal wise. Replace that horse with a man. You are that powerful beast that she wants to control for the most part. You are that powerful beast that she's controlling mentally, emotionally. And that's typically what it is. The same way a lot of women have relationship with horses is the same way a lot of women transfer how they got through to that horse, turn it from a wild horse into a tamed horse. That's typically the same way they do that with horses, the same way they do that with men for the most part. Like I said, horses are very powerful creatures. Very, very powerful creatures. At any minute, any second, any moment, they could crush you, they could kick you, they could trample you, they could throw you off of it. You end up like broken, beaten, paralyzed, dead, or vegetable, basically. So at the end of the day, a lot of the women who get their training on how to deal with men usually rode or took care of horses for the most part. and they transfer that on to the creature. And it's at the end of the day, what you can't do is, what's the best way to put it? Basically, at the end of the day, that she wants to take full control. No matter what you do, she's always going to fight for control in a relationship or control, period, for the most part. It's kind of like what the shit testing is, and kind of like what the mental manipulation, the social manipulation, and the emotional manipulation is. She wants control, wants to dominate you for the most part. And the sad part about that is when she gets that, she becomes bored and uninterested in you anymore and just casts you to the side. It's true. That's how what I'm saying is if you are in a relationship, you don't want to be that tame horse. You want to be that wild horse that sometimes, every now and then, that's typically how that works. And a lot of people miss the mark on that, and a lot of people miss the calling on that because they turn into the tame horse instead of trying to be the wild horse for the most part, that every now and again will listen. This is why I always talk about, like, if you get into a relationship, don't give up your friends. Your friends were there first. Let's pick who was there first and the last person in, like you would for if you were getting hired at a job. The last person in is the first person to go. When the company starts, when numbers start tanking, the last person in is the first to go. Which means if your friends were there first and she was there second, she got to go. That's typically how that works. So you got to be willing to do that as a man for the most part. And a lot of people, like I was saying in one video, a lot of women placate, or a lot of men placate, and or he's pussy for the most part. You shouldn't do that. That's not something you should do. You should always be a man for the most part. You should never kowtow or, you know, take the direction or follow a woman if you don't have to. It's sad, but it's true. I mean, every now and again, like I said, you could be that wild horse. Every now and again, listen and take signs and take cues, but don't always take sides and take cues. Sometimes you can not take any signs and cues and just be that wild horse like you're supposed to be for the most part. Because at that time, what she realizes is she can't control you, so all these outside forces is a threat to her for the most part, if you know what I mean. If she can't control you, then everything around her and you is a threat to her position. That's typically how that works. So she'll do everything in her power. Like I said in the beginning, women's strengths are emotional, social, and mental. Men's strengths are the raw physicality of a man. Separately, they're strong, but together they're for the most part. Um, and what I mean by that is she'll socially try to manipulate you to get control over you. Then she'll usually socially. She'll socially do stuff to manipulate you to try to gain control over you. When that doesn't work, then she'll go for either emotional, mentally, she'll try to control you to get control of you, basically. It's typically how that works. And when she can't do that, she realizes that, okay, this shit's not working. So she tries to gain power back little by little. Let's just say a good example of that is I was saying to Double I and Yam earlier today when we were talking to him on the phone, when I talked to him earlier on the backstage show, that at the end of the day, if you have 60% of the control in the relationship and she has 40% of the control, and let's just say the relationship goes on and she starts losing, let's just say she's down to 20% or 23%, something along the lines of that. It's not to where she was before for the most part. She's going to do everything in her power to get back to that 40 and sometimes try to go back over the line and get to like 50, 60% basically, take it back completely. What you don't want her to do is take it back, go over 50% for the most part, or go over pretty much you don't want her to go over 40%, 45% for the most part. Because then the tabs start changing when she gets over 40%. Tabs really start changing. So you really want her at 40%. And the sad part about that is all this stuff that they do with the shit testing, the nagging, the social distancing, kind of like we got now with the coronavirus, and all this other craziness that she does, all socially, mentally, and emotionally that she does to you, is nothing more to gain power over you because she feels threatened that her position's been pretty much been compromised for the most part. It'd be no different than, despite the fact that half the companies make it your antivirus software on your computer. It'd be no different than that for the most part. Like, so it's got to alert you that you're in danger, and you need to do this, or you need to pay extra money for these services so we can help you for the most part. It's typically the same thing that women do for the most part. Where I said they emotionally, mentally, and socially manipulate you and control you into getting their power back for the most part in the relationship. Like I said at the beginning, like I said a couple moments ago, let's just say she started the relationship off with 40% power. Now, somewhere in the relationship, she's lost her power, and it'd be like no different than stocks, basically. She has 40% stock in the whole entire relationship. You have 60% stock in a relationship. Somehow, some way, due to negligence and not paying attention, or you know, something snuck past her, she's down to 23%. That's her stock for the most part. So she's lost a good like 17% of her stock for the most part, we'll say. The irony to that is all this nagging, all this emotional manipulation, all this social manipulation and control, and all this mental manipulation and control is nothing more to where she was before. Unfortunately, in this day and age, we have women that can't stop while they're ahead, and they continue on past that. They continue on past that. And the sad part about that is you can't 100% blame them because the men that they're in a relationship with tend to allow it to happen for the most part. Like I said, if you have 60% of control of the relationship and she has 40, you can't really let her go over 45 or 40, period. Because chicks start getting very foggy and very thick very quickly. Yeah, don't let her go over, I would say 45 maximum. Don't let her go over 45 maximum. Even that's proportionate when it comes to relationships. At the end of the day, a lot of people, a lot of men especially, like I said, pretty much do things to appease pussy or to keep pussy or to stay around pussy. The sad part about that is, to answer Yam's question on that one, the reason why they don't realize they hit the wall is because, like I said at the beginning of this last stream, they've been sold a lie. They've been sold this beautiful lie that is feminism for the most part. And I already stated that. This is why. And I also stated at the beginning of this live stream or this podcast that at the end of the day, this lie, they realize at too late when it comes to these, where have all the good men gone? Where are all the economically attractive men? Where are all the bachelors at? Where are all the, eligible bachelors, or, where have all the good men gone? The whole 9 yards, the whole entire spiel that they do for the most part. They talk about this shit and all these things because, like I said, they will never come out right and actually tell you about this stuff and how they feel they'll go talk to their friends about it. And to be honest with you, when they write these op-eds, it's no different than them talking to their friends. Because in all technicality, they didn't say it; their friend said it. So think of these op-eds and these modern day magazines, that all these modern day magazine stories and titles that they write as their friends basically telling you how they feel. Meanwhile, it's her telling you how they feel through an op-ed. But women are indirect about the things. They can't do because they like to avoid conflict. So therefore, they're going to tell you this via their friends. In this case, the magazine would be her friend, would be equivalent to her friend telling you that, you're messing up, you're doing this, you're doing that, and I don't think my girl should be with you. My best friend shouldn't be with you because you're not treating her right, basically. That's basically what the op-ed basically is, in the magazine stories basically are. Because at the end of the day, like I said, women won't women try to avoid physical conflict as much as humanly possible. It's just facts. Despite the fact that every now and again they'll go out and do stupid shit and get into a mess, they typically try to they really try they literally physically try to avoid physical conflict for the most part at all costs, or any conflict that'll make them look bad or paint them in a bad light for the most part. So at the end of the day, a woman's basically trying to walk a fine line between making herself look good or painting herself in a positive light, and you know keeping the PR machine running at the same time. Because at the end of the day, she's the fair sex. Or how much you cut it, no matter how strong she is, she's always going to be viewed as the fair sex, and she knows this. This is why she has the power, because anything she does will be seen as cute or dismissed easily. Whereas if a man does it, he's punished to the full extent in the law. As I was saying earlier in the live stream earlier today, women talk about this. They want equality for them, but at the end of the day, deep down inside, what they really in patriarchy at the same time. It's just fact. So what I'm trying to say about that is women want to be equal, but they still want the protection of the patriarchy at the same time. Or they still want the perks of a patriarchy, or the perks of the. It'd be no different than, like, they want egalitarianism on top of they want to be the where they in back in the day, and like all the countries like the UK and England, when they had royalty, they basically want egalitarianism, and they still want to be milady at the same damn time. How it the best is said, but it's true. That's what they want. They want egalitarianism, and they want to be milady at the same time. So they want to be equal, but they don't want the responsibilities. If you're a milady, you can't be responsible for any of the shit that you do. But you want to be equal, but you can't be responsible for that shit for the most part. Typically, how it works. Um, and to answer your question, yes, Sam, pretty much. Men run straight, men run straight in. Women try to strategize the whole entire conflict. And the sad part about that is men do strategize the conflict when they run into it. It's kind of like what they say in the military: you got to think on your toes. Men strategize on their toes. Women sit there and strategize. It'd be no different than if you were a if you were a Marine and you went to war, and your the original goal was to go up this hill and take the hill for the most part. We'll say, we'll use that as an example. A man will basically figure out how to take the hill when while he strategizes on his toes to take the hill for the most part. So if the original route is blockaded or hindered to something crazy that the opposite side did, he's going to think of how he could take that hill on his toes while he's firing shots. Whereas a woman would sit at the desk like a chess player and strategize her move. So a man would be like your soldier on a battlefield trying to maneuver or trying to make the original goal better for the most part on what they were trying to do by changing up the rules or changing up how he can possibly achieve his goal on a battlefield. Whereas a woman would be your chess player when it comes to strategy. She's basically sitting there planning her next move on the chessboard, whereas a man plans his next move on his toes while he's on the go for the most part. That's the best way I could put that. And and the sad part about that, you are right. Male feminists destroy patriarchy harder than women's facts. That's very true. The sad part about that is, like I was talking about, like a lot of the laws in America was passed because men capitulated to pussy back in the day. Remember, I said in the last stream that a lot of men passed laws because they're women. The women would not give up sex or withheld sex basically so they didn't do it. That's another strategy that they use for the most part to get power in a relationship when they lost it. And the sad part about that is when women do that, men have two options: either capitulate or tell her it is what it is. Find it, do what you need to do. Because, like I said, at the end of the day, a woman can give you silent treatment, but the sad part about that, if you actually have the mental fortitude and the stoicism as a man, you can actually ignore that silent treatment. And the sad part about that is she'll break that silent treatment first, for the most part. Matter of fact, I remember I was telling my one friend married, who's been married for a very, very long time, when he was telling me that his wife is withholding sex and this, that, and the other, and she wants me to do this, that, and the other, and she's withholding sex, and I keep on apologizing, but I don't know what I did wrong, and I keep on apologizing. Like, how about you not apologize? Don't apologize. Stop apologizing. I'm gonna need you to be more stoic about your approach now from here on out, and just pretend like it doesn't bother you for the most part. He goes, well, it's hard, I like to fix things. I was like, this is the only way you're going to be able to fix it. You're going to have to be very stoic about it. And you're going to have to be very steadfast about this shit. Because right now, this right here, what you're saying to me, lets me know she has control and power in this relationship. And you're the man, and you're supposed to have some control or some power in this relationship. But you don't. She does. And really, pretend like she's not even there. Or pretend like just do your duties and treat her like she's a platonic friend, or you know how you did before you met for the most part, or like she's a friend for the most part. Treat her like that. If she's going to be like that, treat her like that for the most part. So he did, and it went from her withholding sex to her all of a sudden wanting sex. Well, you said we're not going to have sex for 3 months, so therefore we need to wait that 3 months. So another month rolled on, and they still didn't have sex, and she eventually gave in and pretty much jumped his bones in his sleep, and that's how they had their last child. Which I'm the godfather of, which is actually pretty funny. Um, but yeah, he basically got a power back, and he basically got his power back, and that's basically how he took his power back for the most part, by being stoic and steadfast man and not capitulating to what his significant other's demands for the most part. And the sad part about that is a lot of men capitulate to their significant other's demands. You shouldn't do that. You should always be steadfast and be strong. But a lot of men can't do that. And this is where a lot of men mess up. And but needless to say, that didn't last 3 months like she was expecting it to last, because she pretty. It don't matter how much of a tyrant she is. It don't matter how much of a dick she's being, how long she makes you sleep on the couch. She knows she has power, and you want to do everything in your power to get back in bed with her, basically, and be next to her. When you start acting indifferent and very stoic, and you change up, trying to kiss her ass, changes towards you. On the couch to, honey, you can come back to bed today or now, in a heartbeat. The part about that, if you ever watched the TV show tropes and how a lot of men react to having to sleep on a couch, they react like they're wounded animals. When in fact, you should be acting like you're happy to have to sleep on the couch, because think of it like this: you spend a good portion of your time in bed sleeping. Why be just as comfortable, if not more comfortable, than your bed and getting a good night rest without any of the kids or any of her rolling over on you, taking your blankets and shit like that? You can get that good night's sleep. That's exactly how I always looked at that shit. And I never had to sleep on a couch. And the sad part about that is that's exactly how I look at it. That's the mentality I had, because that's the mentality that my granddad had. That's the mentality that his dad had. That's the mentality that his dad had. And that's the mentality that pretty much all the men in my family have, for the most part, when it comes down to it. We take that as a reward, like it's a vacation and shit. And how we view it is, a nigga get to get some sleep finally. A nigga get to get some good night's sleep for the most part. And the sad part about that, I always make jokes about it, but like at the end of the day, if you know anything about me, my couch is more comfortable than my bed is. If you sit on my couch long enough, minutes. I even have a chase lounger that you'll fall asleep on in a matter of 15 minutes while you're watching your show or movie. Nobody ever makes it past the 15-minute mark. The sad part about that. And I picked that out for that reason, because I know they're comfortable. So if I ever have to sleep on the couch, a nigga's going to get a good night's sleep. If I ever get into a relationship where I have to do that shit, a nigga's going to get a good night's sleep, because I don't have somebody sleeping next to me to annoy me. I can get a great night's sleep and wake up well rested, better than any mattress commercial you can think of, better than any bed that you can think of, for the most part, because my shit is that comfortable. My couch or my chase lounger has always been more comfortable than my bed, no matter what I bought, no matter if it's pillow top, no matter if it's padded, whatever the hell. It's always been more comfortable than my bed, because I have standards. But a lot of men tend to act like they're wounded or hurt or sorry that they have to sleep on a couch, when in fact you should actually take that as a badge of honor, because at the end of the day, you get to go to sleep without being bothered by anybody. And the sad part about that, like I said, women are social creatures, so they need to feel wanted and loved. So by you choosing to sleep on a couch, that fucks up the social dynamic and the whole entire psychological dynamic, because that's supposed to be a punishment to you, when in fact you're actually treating it like it's bliss or a vacation. Because at the end of the day, it technically is bliss or a vacation. You got to sleep on a couch. It's kind of like this. The best way I could put it. I don't know how many times I've been in bed and I've had a dog sleep in there, which dogs aren't allowed in there no more, and children. A children as small as a toddler could take up so much fucking space in that bed. What do you think a woman can do in that same bed? She's going to take up a shit ton of space. She's going to feel hugged. She's going to feel cuddled. She's going to feel like you're holding her and shit along the lines of that, for the most part. And it is what it is. That's typically how that works. So by not doing that and enjoying your time on the couch, You're basically ripping that power away from her. You're taking that power away from her by enjoying being on the couch for the most part. Because at the end of the day, it don't matter how you cut it. That couch is probably more comfortable than your bed would ever be. I mean, granted, some men are Simpson, kiss ass. But if you actually boil it down to its basis, that couch and somebody sleeping next to you and smothering you or taking your blankets and shit along the lines of that for the most part. It's just facts. There's no other way you can cut it. And I've always prided myself on sleeping, my most comfortable sleep. So I'm not going to do some shit that's going to make my sleep unrestful or uncomfortable. It's just facts. That's typically the nature of the beast. Was I on a couch before? No. But I do have a comfortable couch and I have watched movies and fell asleep on a movie with the movie watching me on the couch. Yeah. Because it's just that comfortable. Nobody ever lasts longer than 15 minutes. It'd be equivalent to the best way if you ever had any kids in a car with you. They're making snoring in the background, basically. They're just out cold minutes after the car ride. They went from like hopping all over the place to out cold. That's typically my couch. And that should be the couch for every man for the most part. It should be like the car ride. You take that car ride so your children go to your sleep for the most part. That's typically how you should see that. But yeah, I've never actually had to sleep on the couch, but fell asleep on the couch watching TV or a movie. Hell, I fell asleep on the couch watching the news or watching sports. It's like, it go from the talks to tip off, and before I know it, after the first two shots were thrown up in a basketball game, I'm already out cold and I missed the last few, and I wake up in like the fourth quarter or some shit like that. In the fourth quarter, I missed most of the damn game, and I'm still trying to figure out who scored what scored who for the most part. That's typically my couch where you're sleeping on the couch and the game will end up watching me. But I digress. Have a blessed night. Be good to yourselves. Peace.